Good evening, Haiti Oropesa with Florida You Judge, and we are about to get started in about a a minute. I have 7:57 on my iPhone. I think that my computer clock is maybe a couple of minutes ahead. So, good evening, Michelle Williams,
Good evening.
community activist. Michelle Williams, Daryl, how are you this evening? And I'm glad you joined us. You had an eventful trip with the NAACP recently, yes? I can't hear you. Are you muted? Yeah, something's up. Put your speakers on. Your speakers. Yeah, I can't. We can't hear you. So check, Patrick. I can hear you. Check Sadie, Restorative Justice Coalition. I have you on. I want to have a very balanced conversation. Today the headline was to. I'm still mentally kind of reeling a little bit, as I think all of us are. It's what an incredibly I was shocked. I remember this morning I was running an errand and I was pelted with text messages and calls about did you hear Andrew Warren, the Hillsborough County State Attorney, he won an election in 2016 that was shocking in and of itself. I didn't think he was going to beat Mark Ober. A lot of people didn't, and so he managed to pull that off and has been in office since then. And so he was reelected again. He had a challenger, and Michelle Williams supported his challenger, Mike Perotti. And then he won reelection again. And so today we all learned that he was suspended from office by Governor Ron DeSantis. I wanted to have a pretty good balanced conversation. Getulio, we're still waiting on him. Daryl, did you get that situated? Yeah. Okay. Patrick,
Can you hear me?
reaction.
You
801.
can hear, you can hear me, right?
Actually, we still have. I can hear you. I can hear everybody else. So he got off. Let's see. Hopefully he gets that sorted out. 7:59. Thank you for those of you who are tuning in. We're gonna have a lively, rigorous conversation here about what happened today. DeSantis, since he took office as governor, he's done. He's suspended a lot of persons in office. A good number of them. The sheriff of Broward. Supervisor of elections. Um, he's suspended a couple of officials that were never reinstated. So, Patrick, begin. What is your reaction?
Well, similar to yours. When I found out, I called you because and then your reaction was, Pat, I already know. It's like, yeah, it was a little bit stunning. When we were off air, I was kind of talking about the human aspect of it. We'll probably get into a lot of other things, but obviously up front, you want to say, there's a human aspect here that, he woke up this morning, he was employed and had a good job and a good salary, and his whole life set before him, and he's going to bed tonight with a lot of the same uncertainty that you and I live with as sole practitioners. Where's my next paycheck coming from, and experiencing that sort of stress and pressure.
For those of you who are following, you can call. The call-in number is 813-221-9700, or you can comment in the comment section, and I'll go ahead and I'll publish your comment. But yeah, he was Tampa Bay Times did a pretty thorough article. I am going to cite from it, but it says that this morning Warren was escorted out of his office. Later at an afternoon news conference in the Shoemaker law firm's downtown Tampa, Warren struck a defiant tone. So he's pretty much saying, you are violating democracy. I was elected. You're attempting an overthrow here by doing this. Do you agree with that, Patrick?
No, I mean,
why not? Why not?
Did he really say that?
Yeah, that's what he said.
No,
he said, yeah, he did. You told me before we started that you read the Tampa Bay Times article. So let's go ahead and share. Let's go ahead and share that I want this to be informational. A lot of people are not understanding, like, how could this happen? Okay, a lot of people that supported Andrew, that voted for him, they don't understand how could Getulio's not on here. He was on a little bit ago. He said that there was a protest. Were you in the loop on that, Sadie? The protest that was in downtown Tampa? Yes, no. Sadie?
I'm not unmuted. Yes, I was aware of a protest happening right now.
What happened? What happened?
I can't say because I'm not out there, but I know folks are really disappointed and outraged. The fact of the matter is that Andrew Warren was elected because the community of Tampa trusted him. They trusted his discernment as a district and state attorney. And it's just really disconcerting that DeSantis uses his own bias to make decisions out of retaliation because Warren may not align with his personal beliefs. And that's what this is boiling down to for me.
Okay, so here it is. He called the governor's criticisms pure conjecture and lies and alluded to DeSantis having presidential ambitions. The governor is trying to overthrow the results of a fair and free election. 2 of them, he said. People need to understand this isn't the governor trying to suspend one elected official. This is the governor trying to overthrow democracy here in Hillsborough County. He insisted he was still the duly elected state attorney for Hillsborough County and accused DeSantis of trying to overthrow democracy here in Hillsborough County. And you say that no, Patrick, you don't agree with that?
Well, I mean, you and I both know that's
what do you mean? No.
Totally absurd.
You and I know. I don't know that. I don't know that.
I mean, we know as lawyers that what the governor did is completely lawful and constitutional.
Okay, well then, but let's explain to the public why.
Do you want me to defer to you and you can
well,
explain?
I don't know. I'm not a constitutional law expert, but I'll okay. We're all should all, whether we're lawyers or not, look at our Constitution, okay, and to know what it says and what it allows, and our Constitution. Could you all see that?
Yes.
Okay, so he's citing to this is his executive order, and he cites to the Constitution, our state Constitution. Whereas in furtherance of the governor's executive responsibility, the governor may suspend from office any state officer not subject to impeachment for that officer's malfeasance, misfeasance, neglect of duty, drunkenness, incompetence, permanent inability to perform official duties, or commission of a felony. That's Article 4, Section 7A, Florida Constitution. So he's citing to the Constitution, to our Constitution. That's the law. Yeah. We're talking about rule of law. So the reason why, and I'm going to go ahead and I think I'm going to show one more thing just so that we can speak intelligently about this. Hold on a second. Let me go grab that one more time because we need to have this is a virtual town square, and I would like to go ahead and here we go. This is what got him in trouble because there's another state attorney in the 9th who signed on. There's 2 documents that a network of prosecutors signed. Okay. She signed and the Tampa Bay Times article, which is titled Andrew Removed from Office today. Here's one. He attached it. The governor attached Exhibit A, joint statement from elected prosecutors and law enforcement leaders condemning the criminalization of transgender people and gender-affirming healthcare. She signed this one. She is still in office. She has not been suspended. And the Tampa Bay Times article, they referenced that and I'm reading the article from the article. The 2 joint statements were part of the group Fair and Just Prosecution, a network of prosecutors from around the country. He was the only Florida prosecutor to sign on to the abortion statement, but Orange Osceola State Attorney Monique Worrell also signed on to the statement about gender affirming care. Now, there's no laws on this one, this letter that anybody can violate criminally. There's nothing in the books as to this letter that they're agreeing to. So she signed on to this one. She's good to go. She's still in office. And she's going to probably sleep well tonight without any stress. This is the one that caused, there's only 2 prosecutors here in this state that signed on to Andrew signed to signed on to both of them. She only did the one that I just referenced. The Florida Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers, which I'm a member of, and Patrick, I don't know if you remember, but they wanted to encourage state attorneys in the state, all of them, to sign on to the abortion one, the one I'm about to discuss to reference. They cited two state attorneys down in South Florida. One of them, Catherine Fernandez Rundo. I used to live in Miami, grew up there, and she is not. It doesn't seem she's going to sign on or get on board. And there's another state attorney that also, the article, Tampa Bay Times, you should all read that. It was a pretty good article laying out a lot of facts. Here's the one that got Andrew in trouble. Joint statement from elected prosecutors. We are a group of elected prosecutors representing communities across every region of the country. Over the past few years, we have watched with increasing concern as the constitutional right to abortion has been threatened and eroded. Now the Supreme Court's decision to end the federally protected constitutional right to abortion, first established 5 decades ago in Roe v. Wade, a right that 3 generations of Americans have come of age relying upon, means that abortions will immediately or soon be banned and potentially criminalized in at least half of our nation's states. As elected prosecutors, ministers of justice, and leaders in our communities, we cannot stand by and allow members of our community to live in fear of the ramifications of this deeply troubling decision. Not all of us agree on a personal or moral level on the issue of abortion, but we stand together in our firm belief that prosecutors have a responsibility to refrain from using limited criminal legal system resources to criminalize personal medical decisions. As such, this is what gets him in trouble. We decline to use our office's resources to criminalize reproductive health decisions and commit to exercise our well-settled discretion and refrain from prosecuting those who seek, provide, or support. So basically, he's saying, I'm not going to use the resources of the office. I'm going to use that discretion, and I'm declining prosecuting anybody that gets an abortion in violation of the law that right now it's pending. The 15-week or beyond 15-week, any abortion beyond 15-week, that's the law that DeSantis just signed. It is declared unconstitutional currently. Everyone's still awaiting for the Florida Supreme Court to speak on that. But nonetheless, at this time, he's getting yanked out of office because he's saying, I'm declining to use my office resources to prosecute abortions.
Well, I think, Haiti, there were, that was one reason, but I think there were probably some other issues too, that the governor alluded to. I don't speak on his behalf, but I don't think it was just about him signing this one letter. There were some, it's interesting. If memory serves me, in Haiti, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I recall the election in 2016 when he ran against Mark Ober, that Andy ran to Mark's right. He savaged Mark, as I can recall, about Mark not representing victims.
Yeah, he did. That's correct. I was there. So was Michelle at the Tiger Bay Club. Both Michelle and I were there. And as soon as he did use that that hurt him. I think that then mailers were sent out after that because Mark kind of said that it was she willingly, the alleged victim, went and it's almost like he was saying we didn't. She's the one that willingly went.
I mean, the point was that he pulled kind of an Aramis. Who I like Aramis Ayala as a person and a colleague, and I've tried cases with her, but he kind of pulled the same stunt she did. He ran to Mark's right, as this law and order, real prosecutorial guy. Got elected by like 5,000 votes.
I know, but Patrick, listen, what do you think about him being yanked from office based on, look, this is all we have. This is what we read.
The governor was right to act.
Thanks for tuning in, Gretchen. Meckler, greetings from Florida. Sadie, Patrick thinks that he was right. He's
supported by our Constitution. He's a constitutional officer, and And, there's an old saying, if you're going to get hung, don't give them the rope to do it with. And Andy made some
Daryl,
really bad judgments.
Daryl, what do you think? What do you
That's
think? Weigh in.
Well, again, I don't know Mr. Warren by no stretch of imagination. However, just looking at the law and what the governor can do, it's within his right. It's within his right. It's within his wheelhouse to be able to do that. Now, I also agree with the gentleman on here. There had to be some other mitigating circumstances surrounding it, because if you look at that long list of people who signed that list, unless he's about to start going through that whole list, chopping everyone up, there had to be some other issues surrounding it. What those issues were, I'm not privy enough to know, but I can't believe that he came down here and said, let's just get rid of this guy off of one issue.
Look, they've been going at it. Andrew and DeSantis have been going at it for a while. Andrew Warren has not been shy. In fact, at times when I saw some of the things that he would say publicly, in criticism, because Andrew's a Democrat, Ron DeSantis is a Republican, and I've seen criticisms from Andrew. He's not been shy to criticize the governor, and I at times thought, wow, one day something like this could happen. Here's the thing, Daryl. Here's the thing. I can't speculate as to anything else. I'm just looking at this, and so there's only 2 prosecutors. Like I said, the other prosecutors, you said he can go down the list. Those prosecutors are from outside of Florida. Yeah. They are not prosecutors here that were signatories to that letter. The other one, like I said, from Osceola Orange, she didn't sign the one dealing with abortion. That's why she's still in office.
She's the prosecutor replaced Aramis Ayala, and she has been applying the law, unlike.
I don't know that she replaced her. Didn't she? Ayala just didn't decide. She was never removed.
Right. You're right. Ayala chose not to run for re-election because she kind of read the tea leaves. There's sort of dead man walking politically. So then the new prosecutor ran effectively to her right to say, hey, I'm more law and order. And effectively, if you're in Orlando, this prosecutor is prosecuting crimes. That's one thing that Andy, we could get into all the weeds, you and I, as defense attorneys. We don't mind a lot of these things. I help our client, but it's just a fact that Andy, like take DUIs, for instance. I'm not sure if there's any other counties, doing what we do in Hillsborough on DUI.
Yes. Bruce Bartlett began doing it this year.
Bruce is doing it, right. And to Bruce's credit, but Andy was a forerunner in that. But I think.
But you know what? Some of our colleagues don't like it, Pat. Didn't like it. Some of the defense attorneys who are critical of Andrew are because they want him to prosecute crimes because it affects their bottom line and their pocket and their money.
Well, there's the old saying that defense attorneys want draconian marijuana laws. It creates more business.
Listen, I have advocated as a criminal defense attorney. I don't want anybody incarcerated for possession of marijuana. I've done that, and I've had some of our colleagues tell me, no, I'm not going to be about that. Why? Because dinero, money.
Right. Some defense attorneys want jaywalking to become a felony, So
that's right, because it's a money thing for them. They don't care about social justice or what should be.
Oh, no, none of that here. But the point is here's a good example,
I'd like to let Sadie then speak. Go.
Yeah, before I deployed, I think that we had some, a little bit of issues over there in Suitcase City area, Fowler and Bush, where, some businesses some guy from New York City came down and burnt down a Vietnam restaurant or something, if I recall. But there were a lot of people who got arrested, 60 or 70 odd folks. And I don't think Andy went forward and prosecuted any of those things. And I think that now the reason I say that is I think his failure to vigorously prosecute some of that caused a break in the relationships with law enforcement, the state attorney's office. And that is never a healthy thing for a state attorney, I think.
Okay, so look, you're gonna cite that, and then I'm gonna respond to you, and I want Sadie and Michelle to talk. Okay, so everybody gets a chance to talk. But the article again, which is, I want the public to read it. It's a pretty good thorough. Okay, here it is. Here it is. And just so that you see the headline, DeSantis removes Hillsborough County State Attorney Andrew Warren. And I just wanted this. Is this hypocrisy? Because you're saying, oh no, the rule of law. Governor DeSantis says it's rules. The rule of law has to be followed. So look at here. Clashes between DeSantis said he did not speak with Warren about his concerns before suspending him. Clashes between police and prosecutors over specific cases are not uncommon. Even DeSantis has been selective about enforcing laws, federal guidelines, and court precedent. When protesters blocked traffic on Miami-Dade roads and highways last year, both DeSantis's office and the Florida Highway Patrol, which reports to DeSantis, called the actions illegal. Although the protesters' actions appeared to run afoul of the anti-riot law signed by DeSantis 3 months earlier, no one was cited or arrested. I remember that. He didn't do that because where I grew up, down in South Florida, the Cuban community, and some would say they helped him win that voting block. He didn't want, and I was critical on my social media about that because it's hypocrisy. When it comes to he signed the law, but then the community that's very supportive of him, no one was arrested. The very same thing he's criticizing Andrew Warren of, he's done in the past. Let's go. Just last week, Florida Education Commissioner Manny Diaz Jr., who was appointed by DeSantis, told school officials to ignore federal guidelines aimed at preventing discrimination against students based on such things as gender identity, arguing it would vastly expand the application of Title IX. And earlier this year, DeSantis signed into law a 15-week abortion ban that violated Florida Supreme Court precedent, establishing that Florida's constitutional right to privacy included the right to an abortion. DeSantis has rejected the court's interpretation and is looking to get the court to overturn that precedent. So the double standard, maybe?
No.
Sadie, you go. I can't hear you. You're muted.
I keep doing that. We're here because the fact of the matter is that Governor DeSantis said that he is removing him from office on the basis of his decision to sign explicitly around women's rights. And so I just want to stick to that. But also bearing in mind that the two have had friction in the past shows that DeSantis is unable to indiscriminately do his job as governor. And just like you mentioned, Haiti, there are several ways that he could have executed power in a lot of different ways in the state of Florida, but decided not to. This feels like a personal feud. It feels very personal. And it's a little bit ridiculous to me. It's incredibly disappointing. Andrew Warren is a state attorney that is respected by people on both sides of the bench or the table or the aisle, and is a man of integrity. That's all I have to say for this moment. But okay,
yeah. Well, but I'd like to respond to that. And
sure.
Here's why. We are a nation of laws. Where it's a representative republic, we have to follow the law. If that has become the law, then really no one really has the right when they're in office as the executive branch to say I'm gonna be selective. He's saying I'm declining. I'm not gonna choose to enforce that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a problem. And so. Why? And you know what the other problem is? What do you think of us doing a laundry list or a grocery list? Here's these other things we want you to use your discretion to not enforce. Okay? So your community of activists, Sadie and Michelle, go ahead and jump in. I'm sure we can have a lot of suggestions as to other crimes that he should not be prosecuting. What then would this country and community of ours turn into? That's what the legislature creates laws and then they have to be enforced. He's saying he's being selective, but so has he. So what do you have to say about that, Michelle?
Well, let me say this. Let me go back to the article because I find it chuckled and tickled me regarding these dignitaries that were standing behind Governor Ron DeSantis. Like, I'm just like the cavalry came out, which was funny to me. But let me say this. Hillsborough County has the highest rate of recidivism. Okay, let's call a spade for what it is. and it's been documented, and I've researched it, and I researched it again. Do I like Ron DeSantis? I despise the man. Is he upholding the law? He's doing his job. Is there prior beef between State Attorney Andrew Warren and the governor of the state of Florida? Absolutely. He, just like everyone here can agree, he has made it known that he has gone against the grain. And this is what we have to look at in the history of this nation. Anytime that democracy is being threatened by another party and you go against the grain, there are always some type of consequences and repercussions. Andrew Warren went against the grain, and here's the consequences, and here's the repercussions.
You know what? You said that there's a high rate of recidivism.
Yeah.
Did you just okay? Well, here's somebody that would disagree with you.
I got all day,
and it's funny because this woman is
argue. I got all day to argue with facts.
Listen, Jane Castor. Removing a duly elected official should be based on egregious actions, not political statements. In a free state, voters should choose their elected officials. Tampa remains one of the safest cities of its size, thanks to the cooperation between our officers and law enforcement partners. Which, by the way, Brian Dugan,
no. Let me
called him a fraud.
Brian Dugan was right there. But
Yes,
if anybody needs to be removed from office, it's Tampa Mayor Jane Castor, who ran as a Republican her whole entire life. And then all of a sudden, when she wanted to pander the Black community and she wanted to pander the citizens of the city of Tampa, now all of a sudden this Republican, born and raised, wanted to say, you know what? The only way I'm going to win is if I come a Democrat.
I want an investigation.
No. So this lady has no authority to be interjecting any type of
doubt
when she has skeletons so full up in her closet that if one of us open up, a bone gonna knock us in the forehead.
Listen, what do you think about that, Patrick? I see you've moved your face. You've removed it. Do you not want to be seen on the screen anymore?
Well, I mean,
What's going on?
I couldn't care less about any of that. I just kind of focus on the matter before me. And
is there a lot of? Do you agree that there's a lot of recidivism?
Can I just finish a sentence here?
Yeah.
Give me a second. I'm a lawyer. It's hard for me to complete full sentences. Listen. I've had to advise senior, 4-star generals and throughout most of my career, and people in very high positions of responsibility and authority involving life and death, matters. And I've made a lot of legal decisions that resulted in people dying. That's fine. That's what I do as an Army attorney. But back when I was doing it. I have found that at the end of the day, it's not personal. It ultimately it's business. You either execute, it doesn't matter whether you're a D or an R if you're doing your job. And it's like the point I said earlier. In the last 35 years that I've been in the military, I've had to serve a lot of different commander-in-chiefs under a lot of different authorities. I don't agree with everything that the Department of Defense has put down in those 35 years. I haven't agreed with a lot of things, but it doesn't matter because it's not my job to practice democracy. It's my job to protect it. It's my job to execute the orders given by those in authority. Andy Warren is a man under authority. He's in authority, but he's also under authority. He's the elected official. He's a state attorney. He has people who work for him. But he's also under the authority of the rule of law, the state legislature. In their infinite wisdom, rightly or wrongly, they have passed a set of laws that he has the constitutional obligation and duty to enforce and execute. Rightly or wrongly, he was failing to do that. The governor dropped the hammer. Now, did he have to? We could sit there and say, I don't agree, Governor. I think this was wrong. I think it was political. I think you didn't allow, yada, yada.
I understand, but listen, it was declared unconstitutional already, Patrick.
What was declared unconstitutional? What law? No, Haiti, you're wrong. Okay, you're wrong about that.
I am not wrong.
You are wrong.
Yeah.
Haiti, I can get a grand jury to indict a ham sandwich, and I can run to a judge in Tallahassee, especially in that particular district, and get a judge to say anything. They've had judges in Tallahassee say that that the school boards were fined requiring face masks, and that ruling lasted about a week before it went to the first District Court of Appeals. In the same way, this abortion ruling is going to last all of about a month after the District Court of Appeals gets a hold of it. They're going to overrule that judge, and the Florida Supreme Court is going to find it a 15-week or 6-week or a heartbeat bill or any other thing that the legislature decides to do is perfectly constitutional, because life is a compelling interest. And if people want to preserve life, the legislature is going to be the scene to do that. That's going to be the law for those of us who do this kind of work in constitutional area. But that's not what we're here to talk about. What we're here to talk about is whether or not the governor had the legal basis to do it, and he did. And the sad part, and it gets back to the human aspect, is I feel bad for Andy. Because, if we want to talk about him as a person and a nice guy and all these things, that's fine. He is all those things. But if I'm an Army officer and I'm only executing some of the orders, trust me, a general's going to find me and relieve me of command.
Okay, so all right, very well. I let you talk. You just said that I was wrong. I asked you before this started whether you had read the article.
Which one?
The one about
there's a lot of them. That's why I'm asking.
The one today about you told me you read.
Yeah, I don't cite the Tampa Bay Times as any legal authority.
It's my turn now. You said I was wrong. I told you he noted that the 15-week abortion ban that DeSantis signed into law this year violated the Florida Supreme Court's longstanding precedent.
One judge.
Let me finish establishing that Florida's constitutional right to privacy included the right to an abortion. A judge affirmed that the law violated the Constitution, and the Florida Supreme Court has yet to hear the case. I'm not wrong. So when you come back, when you come correct. You were wrong.
Do you really think, Haiti? Let me ask you a question. Do you honestly?
No, you said I was wrong, sir.
Okay.
You said I was wrong. It was declared right now. A court declared it unconstitutional, Patrick.
A judge indicted a ham sandwich. A judge gave us his nice opinion that's going to last about as long.
When you advocate and when you because you like to bring.
Do you think?
No, I don't. What kind of a response is that? You're saying the rule of law. We got to follow. Well, the judiciary is a branch of government. They interpret laws. And they at times, listen, didn't you during the pandemic seek to declare certain laws unconstitutional? Didn't you do that during the pandemic, Patrick?
Yes, of course.
Okay, if you would have had a ruling that said it was unconstitutional and you told me, Haiti, guess what? I filed this lawsuit against the government, and you know what? The court I won, it was declared unconstitutional for me to say, oh, yeah, any court can.
But that doesn't affect the executive branch just because a separate judge.
It doesn't matter, Patrick. The law right now that DeSantis signed has been declared unconstitutional. And the
ruling,
for all we know, eventually
you're not right. You're wrong. You're wrong. The ruling was stayed as soon as the judge issued his ruling. And the state appealed, the ruling was stayed. In other words, you have a ruling that's worthless until you get an appellate court to affirm that ruling. Now, they may affirm it because you have stare decisis from a Florida Supreme Court decision in the 90s that suggested that the right of privacy. But this Florida Supreme Court is
I don't know that I agree with you. Why? Because before I jumped onto this broadcast, I spoke to Brooke Elvington, who's an appellate attorney. She's coming on Saturday at 10 a.m. She's going to talk about one of the current judicial races in Hillsborough, Nancy Jacobs, who's running against Judge Jared Smith. So I asked her, there's a trial court that already declared the 15-week beyond 15-week ban on having an abortion. Is it currently is that law in effect? And she said no, unless there's another court in the state that has declared that it is constitutional. So I'll ask her about that Saturday.
Well, if she's running for judge and she said that, because that's pretty unqualified.
She's not running for judge. She's an attorney. She's going to be commenting on a local judicial race.
She's wrong. If that's what she purported to say, she's wrong.
We'll follow
the law is in effect. The law is in effect right now. No one
has declared it under Constitution. Okay, Michelle, what do you have to say, Michelle?
Look, I said this to you in private, and I'm going to say it publicly, okay? The governor did his job. Do I like what he did? It could have been, I believe that there should have been a meeting before the meeting, but there was some flexing. It had to be done. It is what it is. Is Andrew Warren going to fight back? Of course he's going to fight back. Period.
Not only is it were they flexing it? There's a little feud. There's a little feud between them. Okay. At the end of the article, it says on Wednesday, DeSantis' spokesperson Christina Pascal warned on Twitter that there would be a major announcement by the governor Thursday morning. Prepare for the liberal media meltdown of the year. This is political. This is political. Oh, look, they're gonna have a meltdown tomorrow.
When is it not? When is it never? When is it not political? When is it not political?
Michelle, Chad Chronister, they were supportive. They had good law enforcement camaraderie, or they were getting along. And all of a sudden, Chad Chronister comes out today and says he's frustrated because he's not prosecuting crimes.
He's not prosecuting crimes on who? Because I see a lot of black people going to jail. So who is he not? So who is he not prosecuting?
Well, the statistics, I share a couple stats, and Haiti, you can correct me, but back in 2006, we had, I think, 27,000 felony cases in Hillsborough County. Population of the county was like a little over 1 million. County population today is like 1.5 million. And last year, I think we only had like 17,500 felony prosecutions. So the population grew by 500,000, but the number of felony cases were reduced by a third. So either the mayor's right, we're living in the safest, even though, a lot more murders and everything else. But it just seems to me that you have a much larger population, and yet we're prosecuting only 2/3 of the cases, even though the population's up 50%. So maybe there's a lot less grand thefts, a lot less burg dwellings, a lot less burglary of conveyances, a lot less petty thefts, a lot less possession of cocaine or fentanyl or heroin or what have you. I think it doesn't stand the reason that if your population increased by 500,000 from 1 to 1.5 million, that the number of felony cases would decrease from 27,000 to 17,000. Just seems somewhat disingenuous, but maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe Chad Chronister, I haven't spoken to him, but he fired right after George Floyd and all of that what occurred in that summer during the pandemic. He fired someone in his agency for I believe that he had pointed a gun to someone who was handcuffed. The sheriff, as being in a prone position as he was taken into custody, Amin, who was kneeling next to him, pointed his weapon at Elkin's forehead and threatened to shoot if he did not identify himself. So that got him fired. And Andrew Warren decided to not prosecute him. Chad Chronister was there today during the news conference, standing by Ron DeSantis. And he said that he felt frustrated because of a lack of prosecution. Now, I want to just share one more thing. And it appears that there's a pending lawsuit by that officer where Andrew Warren decided. I don't know what the status of of that is right now, but this is a forum, Legal Affairs. It's just a popular forum. The matter of HCSO Sergeant Janik Amin, notice of intent to sue. So I'll be following that. But let's go ahead and, in fairness, let me go to Andrew Warren's Facebook wall, and this is what his statement was in reaction to the suspension from office. Today's political stunt is an illegal overreach that continues a dangerous pattern by Ron DeSantis of using his office to further his own political ambition. It spits in the face of the voters of Hillsborough County who have twice elected me to serve them, not Ron DeSantis. In our community, crime is low. Our constitutional rights, including the right to privacy, are being upheld, and the people have the right to elect their own leaders, not have them dictated by an aspiring presidential candidate who has shown time and again he feels accountable to no one. Just because the governor violates your rights, it doesn't mean they don't exist.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just old fashioned, and maybe this is my military mentality, but I want state attorneys and judges and for that matter, public defenders to rise above politics and do their jobs. I want public defenders, like Julie Holt is. I think Julie Holt is a perfect example of the type of public servant we want.
Well, you know what? Interestingly, I emailed her today because she weighed in when Rick Scott removed the death penalty cases from Aramis Ayala. She had something to say about that, and she also she supported Mark Ober. And as soon as once he lost, this was the headline: Julian Holt heaps effusive praise about working with Andrew Warren in Hillsborough judicial system. Well, you know what? She pretty much, if you read that article, she threw Mark Ober under the bus after endorsing him, and then was like all praising Andrew. And she had to come to say, look, Nikki Fried said something in defense of Andrew Warren. So did Charlie Crist. Look, this is a little bit weird. Jane Castor.
Can I finish my point though? I was trying to make.
No, let me finish mine here real quickly. Jane Castor, she was the mayor while Brian Dugan. And Brian Dugan today is calling Andrew Warren a fraud. That's what he says in the article. Jane Castor supporting Andrew. She's saying that Tampa remains one of the safest cities of its size thanks to our cooperation. She's defending them. Why doesn't Julie Holt? Julie Holt the other day was at a forum. She was standing next to let me finish. Mary O'Connor, the newly or relatively new chief of police, because she was trying to crack down on gun violence, which is a great thing, had a bunch of people around her. A public defender, what they do is they represent indigent persons accused of a crime. You know this, Patrick. And Julian Holt was 2 persons away from Mary, where Mary's inviting the public to call in crime tips to everyone standing with her. No, I asked her a question. She didn't respond. And now she has an opportunity to go to bat for a state attorney that she claims.
Okay. Haiti, hello? It's not Julie Holt's job to be Andy Warren's.
No, listen, I asked a question. I asked her to react, and she's not. What are you getting all uptight about, Patrick?
Haiti, may I? It's not Julie. I'm not Julie Holt's representative. I don't speak for her, but listen,
it sounds like it.
I don't. I mean,
okay, it sounds like it.
I don't even.
I haven't said anything to get you worked up, sir. I'm commenting on today. I'm saying Jane Castor. I said Jane Castor. You're the one that brought Julie Holt up, not me, sir.
Yeah,
I didn't bring Julie Holt up.
I know this.
Okay. I'm having a conversation with you. I don't understand why people are reacting. She reacted back when Andrew Warren won. She said he was great. She said that she could get to pick up the phone and work with fellow stakeholders to get things done. When I was asking her, that she refused to answer questions about, are you going to respond and say, no, crime tips don't come to the public defender's office. We represent indigent. She's crickets. Today I asked her, are you going to react to the crickets?
Haiti. So let someone answer. And the answer is Julie Holt is not Mark Warren's attorney. Okay. And Julie Holt has to work with the new state attorney named Susie Lopez. And it goes back to my original point about judges and state attorneys and public defenders. Their job, isn't to be sitting there and playing politics and telling us what they think about abortion or this law or that law. I don't want to hear that crap.
Well, then why are you here talking about this?
Let me finish. A state attorney's job is to represent the citizens of the 13th Judicial Circuit without, and then do it in a way that both applies justice, but zealously represent the interests of the community by executing the laws.
All right, let somebody else talk. Michelle.
And the public defender's job is to represent defendants. And it's not their jobs, and it's not Julie Holt's job to sit there and say what a terrible thing it was that the governor fired Andy Warren. And Julie's not.
Listen, nobody said. I asked a question. Listen, let me, because I'll mute you, Patrick. I'm going to answer now. You brought Julie Holt up, not me. And when you mentioned her, I said, you said it's not her job. Well, she thought it was her job when she did it back when and you said that's not her job, but she did it. She used effusive praise about him when and guess what? You know what? Maybe she shouldn't have. You know why? Because now Susie Lopez.
She's gonna say nice things about Susie. She'll say nice.
So replaced with Susie Lopez, and now who loves her some Mark Ober. Susie Lopez loves her some Mark Ober. So now maybe she shouldn't have said anything back when Mark Ober lost, when she endorsed him, and then as soon as he was kicked to the curb because the voters didn't reelect him, she's heaping effusive praise about Warren. And then she wanted to chime in about concerns about Rick Scott, then governor, removing death penalty cases. So now I'm asking her, what are your thoughts? You want to go to bat for your buddy Andrew? You've had a good relationship that you publicly say, I get to pick up the phone and hook stuff up for the good of all. She's crickets. You know why? Because it doesn't benefit her. She might say, but Nikki Fried said something. Charlie Crist said something. Jane Castor said something to defend them. She doesn't want to because she doesn't think it probably might hurt her. It doesn't benefit her. Am I right or wrong about that, Michelle?
Look, because I'm not going to be satisfied until I say this. We're going to go all the way back to June 2021, where USF put out a document that Hillsborough County has the highest rate of recidivism. Okay. I would like to share this 27-page document with everybody. I put it in the comments and I've read page by page, even contacted some of the authors of this data that was given out to law enforcement here in the state of Florida. We have a huge problem on that. Haiti, I don't want to dance with you. I don't want to skirt tail with you. Okay. We're friends and we're sisters and we're comrades. Okay, bottom line, I don't like Julianne Holt. I have no respect for the lady, point blank, period. So just, you can take me off the screen because I ain't got nothing nice to say.
All right, Sadie, you want to comment, Sadie?
I have nothing of substance to add to that at this moment, but I really appreciate Dr. Williams for pulling up this documentation. I think at one point you mentioned law enforcement officers being disgruntled because Warren wasn't prosecuting the cases that they wanted them to. But when it comes to crimes that officers commit or things that, I'm not going to get into that, but no.
Daryl.
Well, first of all,
let Daryl say something. Come on, Daryl, go. What do you need to weigh in? I want you to weigh in. It's all you.
Well, the way I was looking at it, and when Attorney Patrick was talking about the stats and the numbers, could it just be that Attorney Warren is looking at whether or not he's making the right decision in making these defenses or making these charges, to whereas it's slowing down the process? Yes, the numbers have reduced. Yes, the numbers are lower than they may have been. But can we at least give the opportunity to benefit those who are being charged? Could it be that he's taking the time to really review the cases? His team is looking at what may or may not be the issues before they go forward to charge people? Because again, fast justice and just quickly jumping to justice, that doesn't benefit anyone. You may still get to that 27,000, but it's just taking a little bit longer time to get there because now we're reviewing the cases. Now we're taking the time to see that things are done right. Now, I agree with you as it relates to, following your chain of command. I got 27 years of military service as well. I understand following the chain of command and doing what you have to do, but also in following that chain of command, you still have a personal opinion and a personal objective that sometimes speaking it in a form like in a situation like that, it will cause you to either lose your job or you may have to fight a little bit harder than the norm. So I think there should have been a gentleman's conversation before you came in and just said, you know what, I'm gonna let you go. Because what happened to the respect of the profession? What happened to just honoring one man's respect, another man's respect? You can be enemies all day long, but look, you owe me the conversation, basically, is what I'm saying. Why could they have not had that conversation before you came through and surprisingly remove me from my position. Like you said, he woke up this morning, gainfully employed, and this afternoon, or not even in the afternoon, still this morning, you lose your job. Come on, who wants to honor a man who does something like that?
This is what Andrew Warren said. This is what he said. Again, Tampa Bay Times today published. He said he hasn't had any cases related to abortion or gender affirming care brought to his office, and if he did, he would evaluate them on the merits.
Yeah, well, that's whatever. We can go around and round on that, and it's a little bit.
But what about the case that Judge Jarrett just ruled on? That didn't go before Andrew Warren.
No, let me speak to that.
You answer that for me, Patrick.
Yeah, that was and Judge Smith, who's a brilliant jurist. I've been before him, and he is such an honorable man. If people who get to meet this judge, intellectually, the whole 9 yards, he's one of the best judges we have in the 13th Judicial Circuit. He's just a great judge. But leaving that aside, that was a family law case, involved a minor, and so he followed the law and he applied the law to the facts of the case. But because it's a minor,
you just said it. You just said it. He followed the law.
Right. And then what happened was it got appealed to the second DCA, and it was a 2-1 decision. So there was, and again, that's a sealed case because it involved a minor, but it was a split decision where 2 judges went one way and 1 judge went the other. So you can't say that Judge Smith's opinion in there was, off base. But what I can say about Judge Smith is he's a brilliant jurist. All of us who've been before him, he's exactly the prototype judge you want. But now back to the matter.
Okay, Patrick, listen. So the one thing that I can agree with you on tonight, what you just said, and I'm going to speak about that on Saturday. I'm bringing Brooke Elvington, the appellate lawyer that I spoke to today, that I asked about the trial court having declared the law unconstitutional, whether that was the law, and she said no, unless there's a different opinion or ruling in another jurisdiction in Florida. But in any event, she's coming on Saturday at 10 a.m. and we're going to talk about the race between Nancy Jacobs and incumbent Judge Jared Smith. Sadie, I know that you're about reproductive rights and everything, but here's the thing. I have found it very intellectually dishonest. And I'll tell you what, in addition to Brooke Elvington, I'm going to extend an invitation to some of Nancy Jacobs surrogates that have been commenting on the case. Gretchen Cothran, you know her. She's a lawyer. She's been commenting about that case on her wall, as has another person who's been a political, I don't know if she's an activist, I don't know exactly, but I'm going to invite her as well to have a pretty thorough, rigorous conversation, because I think it's intellectually dishonest to make it that Judge Jared Smith is going to take away the reproductive rights of women or deny women abortions. That's not at all what happened with that case. All he was supposed to do in following the law is to make a decision, weigh out factors, and apply them to facts to decide whether he is going to give her a waiver. Basically, essentially decide, I'm on my own, I'm going to let you go have an abortion, or you should go talk to your parents and get the consent from them.
Exactly.
That's it. And to make it anything other than that from Nancy Jacobs' camp, they're sending mailers that I have seen that are intellectually dishonest, and it's disturbing. I haven't endorsed any of them, but I'm perturbed about that, because we're supposed to inform the electorate. We're supposed to be honest. And to try to make it, because if Nancy Jacobs is not going to say, if I'm elected and I get on the bench, I'm going to give a waiver to every young woman that comes before me, because she wouldn't be following the law then. So if I were to ask her, which she's not going to come on, she told me last Sunday that she was going to come on to inform the electorate. And then once Jared Smith agreed to do so as well, she backed out.
Ask her who gave her that case.
But in any event,
no, ask her who gave her that case. Nancy Jacobs was leaked that case by another judge on the 13th Circuit. Now
we're gonna talk about it Saturday.
Okay.
We're gonna talk 10 a.m.
Okay.
Tune in. You can jump on that broadcast if you'd like, but we're gonna inform the voters, because it's upsetting that it's being made politicized, the judiciary,
Right.
okay, against
And you
a
know what?
sitting
And
judge that everybody loves.
And Haiti, that gets back to my earlier point that I was making about, getting the politics out of the state attorney, the public defender, and the judges thing. If you look back to the 2016 election that got Andy Warren over Mark Ober, again, he ran the march right. And there was a lot of outside money that came in. And, he basically ran for office being one type of guy, but ended up becoming another. And it was a little bit disingenuous and dishonest. And now we're seeing it in this race with Jared Smith. And it's just not right because, judges make hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of rulings that have nothing to do with this minor little thing. And the question becomes, is this guy a brilliant jurist, a good judge, intellectually, the kind of person you want on the bench, the prototype of a judge? It would be a really tragedy if we lost a guy like Judge Smith, or for that matter, Judge Tibbetts. It's another one that's having the run, who's just a brilliant jurist.
We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it Saturday, Patrick. But do you think actually that it's fair when you bring up the name of Julian Holt, and then in reaction to you, you're saying we shouldn't politicize? That's why it's not a good idea if you're in office.
Julie's not running.
You're interrupting me, Patrick. You're doing the same thing you get annoyed with me doing. Let me finish. Let me finish.
I'm sorry.
You mentioned Julian Holt. I reacted, and now you're making a principle. Oh, they should just be quiet. Don't say anything. You're in office. Do your elected duties. Run your office. Do this, but stay out of the fray. Don't comment. But she did twice.
Okay, let me give you.
She did twice in the past.
I got it. And let me respond to you. You asked a good question. I'll respond. Ready? Here's my response. I think that Susie Lopez is going to be the greatest state attorney in the history of the world. Now, if Mark Ober were the state attorney right now, I would be saying, I think Mark Ober is a great human being. And if Andy Warren were the state attorney, I would be saying the same thing. Because I'm a defense attorney, and I hope that I'm in Susie Lopez's good graces, because when I was a defense attorney and Susie Lopez was a division chief, I think I annoyed her because I used to be very zealous on behalf of my clients. Now she's the state attorney. So for the record, I think Susie Lopez is great, and I think she's going to do a great job, and I want to be on her side. And the reason I say this tongue in cheek is because if you're the public defender, you want to be on the right side of your worthy opponent, who's the state attorney. So you're going to say at that time, oh, I think he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. I would expect to see Julie Holt say something in the next week or so about how brilliant Susie Lopez is. So
okay.
Again,
okay. So all right.
Politics,
so we have 6 minutes left. I'm gonna go because we spoke a lot, Patrick.
Yeah, we did.
I'm gonna
get go put the girls to bed.
Okay, you wanna bid us a good night?
Whatever
you want. I'm happy for you to stay till I bid everybody good night. But you told me before you wanted to be with your kids. That's what you said.
I did.
Have a good evening.
I'm gonna bid you adieu.
Thanks for joining us. Thank you.
I love you, Haiti.
I do too. You come anytime you want. I like the back and forth. I do.
And to my worthy and Daryl, thank you for your service. Daryl, I can't wait to meet you in person. You're a great American, and it was nice meeting the ladies. Thank you for putting up with me. Bye, guys.
Okay. Good night. Good night. All right. So, Daryl, do you want to say anything? Sadie, you're muted. Let's go ahead and wrap up. 5 minutes left. Haiti Oropesa, thanks to those who tuned in. Share, please. This is good information for the citizenry. Go ahead and share on your respective platforms. And thanks for joining and tuning in. Thank you so much. Michelle, Sadie, Daryl. Michelle.
I'm gonna be, not only am I gonna be watching on Saturday, I'm definitely gonna wait because I want her to tell who gave her that case.
Okay, that's to Nancy Jacobs, who's running against incumbent Judge Jared Smith. I'm going to invite her surrogates who have been commenting, Gretchen Cothran. I'm going to invite her to come on Saturday at 10 a.m. And another, I think her name's Rochelle Reback. She's been commenting a lot on that. And so I'm going to invite her to come on as well.
She went and got all the animals from Noah's Ark to come on and support her. What she did was wrong. What she did was wrong.
I think that the
He was
voters are
misinformed.
being a little bit
Suspicious.
misled into thinking that he's denying a women's ability to have an abortion. That's not true. That's
It's not.
true. He's deciding, should I make the decision for this young girl to have an abortion, or should I just send her back to her parents to make
Exactly.
the decision? And you know what? There's a lot of parents that would much prefer to make the decision themselves than for a judge to make that decision. Daryl.
No, I just want to say, first of all, thanks for allowing me to be on this call. I have, like I said, I have limited knowledge relative to Andrew Warren. I do respect the chain of command on how it should work, but I just think that there should have been a gentleman's conversation. We as a nation know that there's going to be grief, and there's always a disagreement from the Democrats and the Republicans, and so anytime there is some friction, and in this situation, whoever has the highest seat of authority, they're gonna trump you. If it was the other way around, they're gonna trump you. So it's that whole dynamic or that whole dichotomy that is taking place from what I see. Again, I don't know enough about it, but I do know enough about respecting the chain of command. However, I do believe that they should have had a gentleman's conversation long before you showed up at the front door and removed him.
He's not trumping Trump. He's not trumping Trump for the January 6th instigation of an overthrow.
This is true. Again, but they're on the same team.
Okay. So, anyways, all right, Sadie, last word, and I'm gonna bid everybody a good evening because I'm exhausted. It's 9 o'clock.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a sad day for the citizens of Tampa Bay. Andrew Warren has represented his office well. I think if he were to sign something that was saying, "I will continue to prosecute people who violate the anti-woke bill," then it would be a different conversation. The fact of the matter is, it's extreme bias. DeSantis, to Daryl's point, didn't have the decency to have a conversation with Warren or to try to find out, what was going on in the decision making and that. But it's just really unfortunate. Andrew Warren is a great state attorney, and I hope that we see him reseated soon.
Thanks, Sadie, for joining me. Michelle Williams and my friend Daryl Heish. Haiti Oropesa with Florida You Judge. Until next time.